Good evening, listeners. Welcome once again to COMETSA Radio Worldwide, the mind, the journey to destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. This is our November feature of our monthly show, the VUT Student Academic Development Support and Work Integrated Learning Show, brought to you here by COMETSA Radio Worldwide. And this is the program of the VUT Cooperative Education and under the Center for Academic Development. We have two shows in November. This is the first one. We'll have one before the end of the year or before the end of November, which will be the show for the end of the year. Normally, the show takes place on the last Friday of the month, every month, with exception of the December and January months. But this month, there has been some changes, and that's why we're having two sessions. We have a great conversation today. As always, we love being in conversation with the staff of the Vaal University of Technology, the students, the alumni, graduates, and of course, the lecturers themselves, the professors, and including the stakeholders out there in the industry who are the recipients of these graduates from this wonderful university and great program, Work Integrated Learning, and of course, Student Academic Development Support. We are going to be talking to somebody very interesting. I want to dub this the radio personalities talking to each other, because she is coming from the Vaal University of Technology, FM. Wow, how wonderful it is. I said to her that I don't have to orientate her very much around conversations over the radio. But of course, today she's my guest, and therefore she needed to know how I go about it. And I say you'll find out in the conversation. I hope you are hearing me, Saneliso. Let me welcome you. I see you're muted. You are welcome to unmute yourself. Welcome to our virtual studio. I wonder how it feels to be on the other side of the production. Greetings to you.
Before I even speak, I always start with laughing. I like to laugh a lot. But nonetheless, it means that I'm excited and I'm a bit nervous because this is not an ordinary setting for me. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm hoping we're going to have a great conversation.
Yeah, indeed. You normally put together the content and hand over to the people that master the microphone. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. That's what I do. So it's probably once in a million that we actually get to sit and be interviewed. But most of the time, it has to do with announcements, snippets of something that probably the university is doing, and they'd like to hear from the management side of the station. But other than that, it's always the presenters. We have talent to do that.
Yeah. But you ought to come from the communication background to be able to service them very well.
Definitely, yes. You have to. Also, the producers are working on with come from the communication background.
Yeah. I don't think so many people are aware that universities have their own radio stations.
I doubt, or probably they do know, but they function differently to your commercial radio stations.
Yeah. And they think that they are nice to have. They don't see them as part of marketing or communications of the university. Am I right?
Most of the time, yes, it is like that. And apart from the fact that campus radio stations are there for the development and training of students, which is like the core function, but also they serve as like the bridge between community stakeholders and the university itself. So we are the mouthpiece of the university, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I will come back to that point. I think that point needs to be emphasized because That's why the universities go all out to make sure that these radio stations do function. We'll come back to that, but let's get to know you better. I've been to the beautiful city of East London, and it's a wonderful coastal city. Definitely one of the two big cities in the Eastern Cape. The other one is the Gqeberha, am I saying it right? And of course, East London.
Yes, Gqeberha, yes, Port Elizabeth,
Yeah.
previously
But
known
when
as
you
Port
say you are
Elizabeth.
previously known as Port Elizabeth, but when you say that you are born in East London, where in particular in East London, and how was it growing up in that village, if it was a village or a township?
I was born and raised in Eastern Cape, as you said, which is the province, and then East London being the town. But I'm from Mdantsane, to Zone 17.
A
That's where I've
township.
stayed all my life. Mhm. Yeah, it's a township. It's probably the second largest township in South Africa. Last time,
Yeah.
if I recall
Yeah.
properly. Yeah, it's quite big.
Yeah.
So that's basically where I come from. That place gave me a strong sense of community values,
Yeah.
Mdantsane. I mean, I've got like the fondest memories of the area and the place from my very early childhood. I grew up with very strict parents, especially my dad. So I was never the child who used to go out, play a lot, have friends. I never had really, a lot of group of friends. I was an indoor sort of child who was always like, study, do this, do this, do this. But I think more than anything, that stemmed from the fact that I'm the youngest out of my siblings. I
Yeah.
have two brothers. One works for the SABC and is in Parliament, and then the other one is part of the National Police South African Band, and he stays in Kimberley. So he's always been into music and stuff. And then there's me. So I think they were very, very, cautious about their youngest daughter and the only daughter, of course. So yeah, but I do have fond memories of the dusty streets of Mdantsane, street games. Whenever I got a chance, I mean, sometimes you'd actually walk up to the park, uh, and also, yeah, go to the spaza shop to buy bread. Uh, Basically, that was that. But I spent most of my time at home, like indoors, just minding my business.
Yeah. 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 If you grew up in Tanzania, you're certainly a fan of a boxing sport. It's known for
It's quite
producing one
big.
of the best boxers.
Mhm. Yes, definitely the best boxers come from there because even when I was still in creche, my previous best friend was from that family. The dad was a boxer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got probably the best boxers in South Africa. But I've never
Yeah.
really took time out to say I'm going to watch the sports or anything like that. But I know a lot of people who are great, spectators of the sports and they follow it thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, when we say that Tanzania is one of the second biggest township in the country, they think you're claiming. How many zones are making up Tanzania?
It's getting even bigger now. It used to stop up until zone 17, and then they built zone 18, I think 2 years ago. I think we're sitting at 19 zones
Yeah, it's a very big
at the
township.
moment.
Yeah, and what kind of schooling did you have? Did your parents send you to?
I was always luckier than the other siblings. I attended multiracial schools from creche up until so I attended Lil Penguin Educare Center, which was based in town, like not too far from the CBD of East London. And then after that, I went to attend President Primary. It's more or less by the coastal side. It's got a beautiful beach view and all of that. But we never really got to enjoy the beach view because, I mean, you're at school at the end of the day. You're not there to go to the beach. Uh, After
Yeah.
my primary school, I later did my high school years at Port Technical High School, where I developed a strong interest in engineering as a skill. I did my civil technology at Port Technical High School. And then I went to VITS for my first year in attempt to pursue engineering. But then one thing that always haunted me was my love for media and journalism to be in particular, because I would see my big brother in action, on radio, doing his thing on TV, and I would be like, that is what I needed to go into. I'm really in the wrong career. So fast forward to that, I later went to VUT in attempt to study journalism, but then I realized that they've got public relations management, which was quite close to the media space, because PR has got a lot of specialization areas, and media and comms is one of them. So that's how I ended up in PR.
Mm. Wow. So did you, but it sounds like you were exploring, but you were very lucky to land into a kind of a profession which, listening to you, having spoken to you even before this show, it sounds like it's something you love very much.
I definitely do. And I think it stems from growing up in a city with a lot of, environmental challenges that inspire one's passion to try and come up with, I think, sustainable solutions to that. So I think media and comms is one way that we are able to kind of communicate those challenges, find solutions to that, and also just the passion for news, because I think it's always ongoing. It's very interesting. It's not one-sided. So I think for me, that's what I love most about, communications and the media space.
Mm. And other than you having been not clear upfront what you want to study, which is always a challenge for many students when they finish their high school. What other transitional difficulties, if or challenges, did you have to deal with? That is transitioning from high school to VITS and then to VUT that you will want to enlighten other students about.
um, well, firstly, I think it has always been the transition from high school to university and then to the working world, which has always been probably a transformative experience for me. It required adaptability and also continuous growth. Coming from a culture of learning such as VITS, although I didn't stay long, and then migrating to VUT, which has its own culture as well, you needed to adapt, and you needed to adapt really fast. So I think that whole self-direct nature of university learning. I mean, in high school, it's more structured, so to speak, because of the environment and also how you get to do things when you're in high school. But then in university, you are required to be independent and to manage your time and studies differently. There's no one telling you there that this is the structure. You need to kind of conform and create your own structure. So then from university to working full time as well, created another shift as well. So I've always been focused on building practical skills, and I've been big on mentorship. I think since first year, I've been big on mentorship, even if it meant that I needed to find a shoulder to cry on from a family friend, or probably someone who's in a similar career than I am in, or try and create a space of friends who are excelling so that I get to kind of be groomed under their wing and see what it is that they do. So it's a continuous learning phase. It's a continuous learning phase, and I think you need to constantly embrace the gap that comes with it, because high school, university, and the working world always has a gap within it. But I think another challenge as well. Now that I look at it, it has always been a matter of the gender, the race, and ageism for me.
Mm.
I mean, with all that, it's not a secret that we live in a country where Africans, or probably Black people, have had to prove themselves, 3 times more that they're capable. I think it's only now that the world is starting to adjust and seeing the potential of, how Black people can achieve. But it's worse as well when you are a female within that, and also your age as well. It's like you content manager of a station, you get to speak to people, but when they get to see you, they're like, oh, you look so young. So there's that constant improvement of trying to
But
work against your age, trying to prove yourself that in fact, I am capable of doing this. I am able to do it, and I've been, placed in this position because probably someone trusted me with it, and yeah. So those have been
So,
some of
so,
the challenges,
so
but with them.
I'm very interested in the point you raise about always looking for a mentor. What awakened you to that?
It's oh it's also knowing that I think it's basically having parents who are never in this field, so chances are they can mentor you on an emotional level, but you need to have people who are more or less doing what it is that you are doing, so that you can always find. I think now with my let me put it like this. Back then it was just a shield to kind of find out that I'm interested in media, this is what I want to do. Let me try get a mentor who's able to show me the ropes around. Okay, this is what you need to do. After this stage you need to apply for these particular things to get where you are going. But now it has become more of like keeping abreast of the trends. When you're in media, you can't say you stay in your own isolated island. You need to constantly find out, am I leading properly? Like the kind of people that I have under my wing, which are the interns, am I teaching them what's good, what is relevant within the space that we are in? Because with media, things are constantly evolving. So you need that circle of people where, or mentors, you can be able to pick up the phone and say, am I on the right track? This is what we're doing now. Is it still relevant? Should my intern graduate and go to a better, organization? Will they be in tune with what's going on outside of just campus radio or the university? So for me, mentorship is just about that, and also finding sisters and brothers within the space. It becomes much more easier to know what it is that you need to improve on.
Beautiful. You are the alumnus of the Work Integrated Learning Program of the VUT, and you participated in that program until you then became employed full time. Just share with the listeners, what role did the WIL program play in your transition into where you are now, over and above the mentors that you're talking about?
Okay, I did the program in 2012. Yeah, in 2012. And I think during my academic journey with the program, I gained a solid foundation when it comes to the expertise and the practicality of public relations management. Also, I started as an intern where I'm working, but then I was under the sales and marketing department. So I was more into sales back in 2012. And then not only that, but I think the experience reinforced a sense of balancing in terms of my time and also planning the overall work experience, to kind of have an idea of, okay, when you start working, this is what I should expect from work. And this is how I need to carry myself moving on. But fast forward to that, I can say that I've been able to translate the academic concepts to many practical solutions that I've been able to do later on in my life and in my current role now as the content manager. So it was a pleasurable experience. After completing my will, I think I stayed at home for a year looking for a job, because you know how it is with the unemployment rate.
Yeah.
I stayed for a year, and then I remember receiving a phone call when I was outside and I was still back home, and then they said there's an opportunity for a content manager at the station, and we think you'd be best fitting for this role. And now you can think I was only doing sales in the station, so I knew nothing about content. But I needed to get a mentor still within that. And the station was I think I was very fortunate to get so much support from the colleagues to say, okay, you're still young. This is where we're putting you. So they didn't just let me swim on my own. I got a mentor who was from SAFM, and she was working at SABC as well. And then she was mentoring me throughout the 2 years that I started kind of show me the ropes around, this is what you need to do. As much as this is a new office, this is where you need to start with your work. And yeah, and then the rest is history.
Wow. Was that a formal mentorship or it was just informal with somebody from outside? The person from
It was a formal
the SA.
mentorship.
It was a formal mentorship.
It was yeah, it was a formal mentorship. It was very formal. And then obviously we became closer and closer during my second year in office. And it became more informal in terms of our chats and the way we did things, because we kind of grew a relationship together and I knew her by then. So yeah.
Wow. It looks like you're very good at building relationships, right?
I try. I try. That the media will force you to more than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
It's an industry that demands that you are very strong at building relationships because, I mean, where do you get the content from other than from the network that you have?
most definitely.
Mm. So, and I understand that currently you are hosting students, the will students, at your radio station. And isn't that wonderful that during your time, this was not focused based on what you are sharing with us now, but it looks like you are very intentional about it now. You are receiving students who are looking forward to come and work for the radio. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. Um, we are hosting students not only from the university though, but we've also been able to expand over the years, because I went into office in 2015, started working for the university under the content department. And then I think for about 3 years after 2015, it has always been like solid volunteering. Up until we needed to find a way, because the volunteering was inconsistent. We were literally taking anyone who's passionate about radio and production, whether they're coming from the community but would like to learn that. But we refocused our shift into looking for people who could gain from the experience. So that's when we went into Vaal, and it started off with PR students from the university. It has grown now to even Boston Media House. We've got students from Northwest University, Citibank College, that would come through, and even some that we've built relationships with that are part of our stakeholders from your academies that focus on radio and comms. So yeah, basically those are the people we are training and developing, or should I say I'm training and developing under my office to be content producers.
Mm.
And then after they do their work integrated learning for whatever period, because within different institutions, it depends. Some would stay for 6 months, others it would be a year. And then they would then later find passion into getting into radio. Others would become news readers. So we actually do allow them to kind of, find their niche of what it is that they really want to do besides production.
Wow. So you've been very successful at positioning VUT FM as a learning place, not just for your own institution, but for outside institutions like Boston that hasn't got, probably, I don't know, probably they don't have their own radio, but they do have students that want or study radio or PR kind of courses. And that's why they come from you to you. Is that the case?
Yes, that's that. Even with your Demlin, you'd find that there are students who are really interested in the radio side of things. So we really give that theory a more practical sense, and then they get to join the station, and yeah, they we take it from there.
This is beautiful. I would have thought that you're only receiving the will students from the university. But at the moment, how many students do you have? And perhaps maybe before we answer that question, just position VUTFM for us. What happens there? Is it a department? Is it a standalone? How is it?
VUTFM has a very it's under the advancement department, which is the corporate comms, the corporate communications department of the university. We're also part of that, and we are situated. more or less outside of the university. Back then, we used to be within the university, but I think that was before I even joined the station, many, many years ago. So we are situated just outside of the university, but we are not too far from main campus. We are just opposite at Isaacsdale Stadium. I think that's probably the only stadium in Vanderbijl. I stand
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
corrected. So within the station, we've got different departments. Within the station, we've got different departments. We've got the station manager, who oversees the processes of the station, and then we've got the programs manager who heads the talent. Now, what I mean by the talent is the presenters and everyone who gets to speak on air. They are he's the direct line. And then we've got the content department, which is mine, and I'm heading the producers of the station. And then we've got the news editor, who heads the field reporters and the news readers of the station. We've got the technical team that do the sound imaging and the branding of the station, the technicalities of what you hear on air, to adverts, placement, studio recordings. And then we've got our marketing and sales manager. He's the revenue guy who brings in the stakeholders, the clients who want to advertise with the station. And then we have the music compiler who takes care of the music from each and every show at the station. And then we've got the administrator. And then we've got the talent, then producers, presenters. So it's quite a big team. You don't get to go to the station and see the big team every day because, I mean, people come during their shows or when they are needed. So, yeah, but basically that's how it's structured.
It's a big operation. I wouldn't have thought it is that big. And you are not counting the students that are also then, of course, coming in there. How many are they?
I'm not counting. I'm not counting the students yet. At the moment, I've got 10 students who are working in my office. Now, 10 doesn't really equate to 10 shows. You'd find that probably one student is handling 3 radio shows. That would be probably 2 within a week and 1 in a weekend. So, yeah. Currently at the moment I've got 10 students. So after every 6 months I would receive 10 more students. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 8. It depends on the demand of who's there and who's fitting enough to make it at that point. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sure, that's incredible. Now, if a student wants or somebody wants to study and become involved with radio, is there a radio specific studies or it's always pulled out of the public relations and communications courses? Or is it different from university to university?
It's different from university to university, from college to college. The closest that we have at our university would be your public relations management. And then through public relations management, it's divided into specialization areas where you find your media and comms, it just depends what it is that you want to do. That's set out on under public relations. But we don't have like your journalism and your straightforward radio broadcasting, academy where you can go do radio. So it tends to be different. But I think more than anything, many of the talent that we have, some of them would come to the station, they would audition, make it to the station because they have a passion for radio. But at some point, without discipline and the necessary, direct, studies for what it is that you're doing, that passion doesn't materialize to anything. So they tend to grow a need to go to radio academy. They tend to grow a need to kind of fuel their passion to make it something more tangible. because within the space as well, it's a very tricky space, media, because 1 minute you are so good and you are relevant, people love you. The next minute, there's always someone new coming in to take your place. So it's always a constant thing to always kind of position yourself, try as much as possible to find what is it that you can do that's just beyond you speaking on the mic, or probably just doing straight up producing, because it's constantly evolving. They always want the freshest person with the right qualifications, with the right experience, who's able to be brought in. So it's talent is very, very tricky.
So continuous development and learning must be a must, right?
Yes, definitely. Not only for talent as well, but for us managers, it's always continuous as well. Because I mean, if you are staying and you're like, okay, I'm a manager of the station, and that's just it. There's always room for someone else to come in who's able to bring in new ideas that the station probably needs at that time. So yeah, it's a continuous. You need to continuously, try and position yourself, to grow the passion and also to kind of instill discipline towards what you're doing.
So if you look at the business model of VUT FM, and maybe we can use the revenue streams between people who come and be part of the radio for their development purposes, and those people who come to you and engage with you because they are part of your community, which one brings more income? In other words, between those who come because you need to assist them with their learning, they come from other institutions, and I'm sure they pay. And then you have the people who say, we love the VUT community, we think it's a captive market, we want to advertise. Which of the two, just as an example, is really core or is bringing more income for the station?
Students don't have
Or is
money,
it confidential?
so I think it's an obvious answer. So I think it's an obvious answer that it would be from the community in terms of our revenue and how we look at it. The way that the station is surviving is through adverts. But now, in time, we've slowly kind of improved in terms of trying to sell shows more than just advertising space. Everything when it comes to your traditional radio, it's things have become so fluid. People are now into podcasts. People are now into just getting into apps. People can just log into like online without having to literally switch on their radio. So we also need to adapt with that, create podcasts, create social media spaces to kind of make people more engaged about what it is that we're doing. But most of our revenue, I can say, comes from the community. Yeah, from the community. Because with VUTFM, unlike other campus radios, we've got a very peculiar kind of license that we serve both the Vaal, because of our frequency, it's quite big. And then we also serve the university, which is also our primary stakeholder and community.
Yeah. And give the frequencies for people who wants to, after this show, to go and switch on and listen to VUT FM.
Okay, it's 96.9, and we are also on Facebook, on VUTFM 96.9, Informing Minds. So you can stream us online. Let's say if you're out of the reach of our frequency, because our frequency goes as far as Sasolburg. And then if we're looking at it from the south side, we go as far as, I think there are two garages on your on the freeway, as if you're going to Joburg.
Yes.
There's two
The
garages.
engine
There are two
garages
engine
there.
garages. Yeah, you should be able to still pick up the frequency from we go all around across the Sebokeng Orange Farm. We are able to reach that in terms of our frequency. But if you're outside of the Vaal, then we've got streaming online platforms where you can stream us live.
Wow. This is quite very interesting. And how do you continue playing the role of being the voice of the Vaal University of Technology?
Whoa. Oh, that's I feel like that's a tricky question.
Because if I'm a vice chancellor of the Vaal University of Technology, I will want to know that we use this powerful medium to communicate with our multiple stakeholders, not so?
Yes, definitely. I think we've been able, especially with let me just speak about the rebranding of the university at large. We've been able to carry out the importance of why VUT needed to rebrand, so to speak. It's just one example I'm using from the top of my head. Why VUT needed to rebrand, and for us belonging to a university such as VUT, and with a tagline such as inspiring thought, shaping talent, we as a station needed to also kind of align and change our tagline from the rhythm of the river to informing minds to kind of suit, the goals that VUT is directed at. Because at the end of the day, we are part and parcel of VUT, and it's like the bigger idea for all of us. We can be broadcasting about everything that has to do within the community, but our main stakeholders and the people we need to serve is the institution first. And we've got a big responsibility in our hands, such as just positioning the university in a very solid way, in terms of not ignoring the fact that there's so many things, that would come out in terms of what's been said about the institution. But we are like the go-to people, where if the public wants to find answers, they know they need to tune into VUT FM. We'll be able to kind of iron out whatever doubts they have about the institution or so on. So we carry such a big responsibility on our shoulders, and we've been able to I think we actually doing quite a good job at that, because there hasn't been a time when I would say that we've had our license revoked or taken from us. We've always been following the policies of ICASA, who guide us as well. And then also we've got a board of directors and members who kind of tell us the nitty gritties about this is where we need to position ourselves now. This is what we need to do, as a radio station. So yeah, we're probably the biggest mouthpiece of the institution when it comes to reaching a wider audience than just VUT and on-campus staff.
Beautiful. And let's come to you in terms of your own continuous development. You have long been out of learning and into work. Have you continued to study, and where are we heading to professionally?
Yes, I've grown professionally because I think I've developed a strong ability to manage projects, and that has been through my role at VUTFM, that I'll forever be grateful for. But I think one notable example of that would probably be I've started a company in 2020. I know so many times people have asked me, why would you want to start a company in 2020? I mean, during COVID times and stuff, I probably thought the world was coming to an end and I needed to do something that was just, forcing me. It's something I couldn't stop thinking about. So, yeah, I've started my own company. It's a consultancy company. It's called Protestar Consultancy. And it is not where I needed to be at the moment. We're still in the crawling stages, but we've been able to do quite a number of projects and training and development, and also events, for corporate stakeholders within the Vaal. But basically, where I want to see the company going is to be a PR related agency. I want it to mainly focus on PR and communications. So I'm hoping we get there. But other than that, I've been able to have a privilege of, still being able to to continue with my studies. I recently completed my postgraduate diploma in higher education last year with a cum laude. And
Wow,
now I'm doing my master's.
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm doing my master's in higher education at the moment, and it's very tough, but
Wow.
we'll get there.
Are you studying at VUT?
Yes, I'm studying at VUT.
Yeah, and it's masters in education. So are you thinking of becoming a lecturer, or what is the intention there?
I've become very much interested in the academia space, and yeah, it's something I'm slowly considering. Yeah,
Mm.
it's fascinating. I love what it stands for, and yeah, I think that's why I'm studying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. So probably in the next few years we'll be speaking a different language.
Wow, wow. Dear listeners, we are in conversation with Saneliso Mavuka, who is the content manager for VUT FM. She is also the graduate of the university in the public relations field, and she participated in the work integrated learning program of the university, which is driven by the cooperative education. And she is now really, in my view, taking the VUT-FM to great heights, not only for the VUT community, but for the broader community out there. Now, you have shared with us your future aspirations already. That was going to be my next question, but I'm still wanting to find out how then do you continue assisting the cooperative education with the WHEEL program? I'm sure there are so many students at VUT that will want to access what you have accessed via the work integrated learning program or student academic development support initiatives that are out there. I'm saying you in terms of you as the radio as well, not just you in person.
Uh, we are still really putting much emphasis on that, and it has become such a priority, not only in my office now, but also in the other departments within VUTFM. We are slowly moving into a space where it's not only going to be interns in just the content department, but also in music, in technical, in IT. I mean, right now at the moment, I think we wrote something where we are pitching in our strat plan tomorrow. We've got a strat plan that we've got designed of some of the things that we'd love to see, and the Will program, and also us. Being part of the Will program, we have bigger plans of what we'd like to see it growing and becoming within the station, so to speak. So I'm still taking students. I think that's something that I've grown to love very much, because I feel like I understand them more. I've been in their shoes. And also, besides taking from the university, I think I've been proud of the fact that I've been able to plow back. I mean, speaking to you right now, if I count from the years I've started doing the whole mentorship supervising of students, we're probably sitting at 100 students that have graduated through VUTFM. I'm talking about students now. Others are brand interns in, I don't want to be mentioning or advertising companies, but one of the biggest companies. And I know one student who's a content manager in a radio station back in Limpopo. And other students are working within the departments. Others are part of the municipality. So there's so many students who are doing amazing stuff that are products of VUTFM. And I'm not only talking about my office, but also in the news department, we've got news readers who are coming from the station, who are in your mainstream commercial radio stations now, like your your prime medias, your what do you call the station, your 5FMs. So
Mm.
it's really a good development space, a VUTFM, where if you are passionate about media, you get to start there. It's your starting point. And then once we have this, I think more than anything, with the colleagues, because our offices are so fused into the other. I mean, it's like a whole chain where, for example, if the programs department would not be performing, it affects my office, then it later affects the news, then it later affects the other departments. So we are very, very strict on creating an environment where we let students flourish. As
Mm.
good as they are, we want them to to get to, to get to their optimum level and to leave the station so that they make room for the next students who want to get into the training and development. So yeah, that's one of our core functions, apart from the fact that we are broadcasting and everything. But I think we've been, doing quite a good job when it comes to that. Yeah, it's been good.
That's beautiful. I like the fact that you are actually contributing to the industry at large. So I don't think the established radio stations will do the kind of work you do because it's not their core business. For you, it's your core business to contribute to talent development. I think that makes you unique in that sense.
Definitely. Definitely does. And it also instills a sense of collaboration. I mean, working for a radio station is so fast paced. Definitely, it's not easy also for the interns because it's just a huge change for them. But if I can be able to take a student in, and by the time they're done with their work integrated learning, they would have been able to learn a thing or five from me. I think I've done my job when it comes to that. Fast paced,
Absolutely.
we hardly have off days. Video, it teaches you how to think, to be an impromptu thinker, to think on the spot. It opens up and focuses so much on communication, and it creates an environment where you are totally glued and you're always inquisitive about what it is that's happening around you. So yeah, it's very good to see them graduate. I would say that. I think probably my supervisor was feeling like that back in my days in 2012 when I was graduating. But and I always cry sometimes when I'm able to see an intern who comes in who can even hardly speak a word, and then 6 months later or a year later, they're a totally different person from how they came in. So I love it. I love it. I relate to it more than anything.
I must say that one can feel the passion as you speak, and that is really for me what is beautiful about our conversations right now, because there must be young people out there that have always wanted to study PR, and they never realized that PR and communications is actually it will enable them to enter the radio space. And of course, let's acknowledge a congratulatory message from Dr. Inimuletsani saying, congratulations, Saneliso, for all your achievements.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you. Much appreciated.
And then I have Fortune Masina who like the show, and Lutendo Ernest. I assume they are your peers in the industry or your mentors, I guess.
Definitely. And I can write a book about him. He's been one of the people who really inspired me to get into the industry from Urban Brew. He used to work for SABC and now he's got his own. Yeah, Fortune Masina, and he's got his own thing going on now. As he's been heavy on production, so that's like a big brother to me. Like totally. He knows my struggles. He knows the times I've had to cry to him to come up with a solution. This is what I want to do. Do you think it's going to materialize? So thank you so much. And Lutendo is very special person as well, who's within the institution and is my co-supervisor currently in my research work.
Wow. And Muntu Chili?
Oh, the big boss. The big boss, very special person as well. Yeah, I'm just so happy that they created time to actually be part of this. So another person I really admire. Thank you. Yeah, thank you to them for joining, and even to the other people that I don't see.
Yes, the listeners, of course, our regular listeners of COMETSA Radio worldwide. And of course, your colleague from the cooperative education, and that Edwin Mavelan is also on the line. I mean, they are the guys who really made it easy for you guys. And then regulars of COMETSA Radio worldwide, Marilyn Happy Maponya is on the line. She must be also enjoying the talk. And then, of course, our regular resident DJ Umpini Lepile, who's studying in Paris, in France. He's on the line. Our pride. So yeah, you are touching so many stakeholders at VUT and of course at COMETSA Radio Worldwide on our bigger audience, of course, here on Podbean and business platform. And we're gonna make this podcast available. There's so many people that will be inspired by your conversation. But I think the VUT has done a great job as always. I mean, we have no doubt that anyone from VUT who has gone through the VUT Will program, they tend to land in the right careers. I think you have painted the work environment already, but what must the students expect when they come over for Will program at the radio, at the FM?
When it comes to my department, I've got quite a structured induction that takes place, taking them through the history of radio, understanding it, and also their role as content producers. We get to do that from the time they come in. Obviously, we do a lot of shortlisting, and then from there we pick our favorites from the CVs with the panel, of course. Station manager is always involved in that, as well as the sales and marketing manager. Sometimes we'd rope in another colleague who's an external to kind of make us, choose the right ones. And then from there, the training takes place. And not only that, they would also get a few days to train the sales and marketing side, because it's very important as well for someone who's in the production to know how the sales and revenue is done, so that there are no mistakes when it comes to the actual importance of the selling times. When do we sell, and how important is this? Are you able to differentiate between a normal interview and an interview that is client related? So there's a thin line between all of those things. So radio on its own has its jargon. So it takes some time for me. It's important to have these trainings so that I take them through that, so that they get to understand what is an outside broadcast, what is a satellite broadcast, how does a live read work, how do you then create one, how do you then position PSAs on radio, how do you do that? And also, over the years, I've been able to kind of train the producers to know the table, because I feel as though it's not only the presenter's role to know that, and it's important for them as well to be able to slot in the music. Let's say something happens or a presenter is running late, they should be able to at least know how to play music, handle, the sheet, the running order of what is happening and what is expected. So if they go through the training, and then I position them into the shows now that they're going to be focusing on. But now, what's special about putting them on the shows is that no producer gets to spend the entire wheel on one show, because by the time you complete your wheel, you must have had the experience of producing a current affairs show. It works differently from like your music show, and it works differently like from your breakfast show. So they get an all-round experience and feel of the different shows that we cater for, and eventually they get to know which one resonates with them more. So it's a very good experience, not only for that, but we host a lot of celebrities. You know how students are when they see celebrities, and they get a lot of context through that. I always say to the producers, never take anyone for granted that we, especially if you're doing your wheel, that we invite to the station. Make sure you make as much contact as possible within the 6 months you are here. I mean, I've witnessed producers being employed by probably someone who came for an interview, but who just liked their work ethic, and they said, "After your wheel, call me back." Then they're working now, within those different organizations and spaces. So it's quite a flexible one. It's very relaxed, and um, it speaks to them. They're all about music. They're all about, so as much as it's very demanding, but I think it's a space and an environment that they get to create a lot of relationships on the way. And it's always sad to see them leave. I wish if I was running my own radio station, I'd probably have hundreds producers by now, because I've really worked with incredible students who are really good at what they
Yeah.
did. But unfortunately, you always need to let them go. You always need to let them go, and then you start a new team. And
Yeah.
I guess it's part of the process.
Wow, wow. I can sense that you've got it. And I think Fortune is also confirming, is affirming you here, is that he's enjoying the show, and he was always drawn to you because of the passion that you radiate. And I think my listeners will also agree. I mean, they can feel your passion
Thank
as
you
you
so
speak, right?
much.
Will you say that is one
Thank you
of the
so
features, and
much.
one of the attributes one must have? Because you have to be joyful and be passionate about being on radio, right?
You have to alongside with discipline.
Yeah.
The passion alone won't take you that far, but discipline is also needed. With passion, discipline, they go hand in hand. It's something
Mm,
else. So you really need to really love it. You will feel as though
yeah.
it's draining you if you don't have the passion for it. Yeah.
Mm. I'm sure some of my listeners think that you are the person behind the microphone at VUT FM.
No, no, not even. I've never even done one show. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm fine in my little corner. I'm fine in my little corner.
Wow. I must say, I'm really enjoying this. And I look at time, I say, what happened to our 1 hour conversation? It's almost 4 minutes left. And just for your information and you listeners, I'm tuning out of Sun City Resort. I'm here at the annual Institute of People Management convention. I took a break, and we're going for a gala dinner now. There was no way I was going to cancel this, and I'm so grateful that it was not the wrong decision. Otherwise, um, my listeners will have also not been happy. But let's round up. Oh, I have so many questions I wanted to ask you because I'm also very much enjoying your story. Uh, have you had a conversation with mom back at home as we check out, and dad, about this great career that you are making? And please, if you can just respond to that, but at the same time, closing remarks for our listeners because I need to go.
Yeah, we have that all the time. We have that all the time. And I think my mom and my son are one of the biggest cheerleaders. Uh, it's actually my mom who actually said, you know what, go back to school. You can do it. Do your masters. At a time when I was like, do I really want to do that? Will I have time? Because with radio, you hardly find, even time for yourself. So she believes in me, I think, more than I believe in myself. And also, I'm at times in which I feel so demotivated. We're not always at our peak. We're not always. I think you can speak to even presenters. It's not every day that they'll always be in a good mood, but you need to channel yourself in radio in such a way that you kind of leave everything behind and I don't know, I adopt a sense of just I'm here now. This is what I'm planning to do, and I think I find that as well within when I start writing, for shows and stuff. So I think I'm always inspired about what more can I do for my son, because if ever I'm going to be a role model for him, he would need to actually say, okay, mom, I hear you. This is what you've been able to achieve. So my mom and my son, biggest cheerleaders. My dad was as well, but unfortunately he's no more. So yeah, I think I find my strength mostly from them. As much as my mom might not understand what I do at times, and should be like, "Oh, aren't you taking leave? Oh, aren't you coming home now?" And I'm like, "Mom, I can't do this and that." She doesn't know how demanding the space is, because I mean, for us, you can't say now I'm switching off radio. There's no production. Let's go home, and we just leave the station. 24 hours. We constantly need to be broadcasting. And even if it means you are in ICU, someone has to be at the office making sure that it's an oiled machine and everything is happening as it should. So yeah, my mom knows. My mom knows. She cares. She sees my strides, and I try to make her happy. Thank.
Beautiful, beautiful. Please remind the listeners of the frequency and then also the streaming platforms that they can use to access the radio as the last wait.
Okay. Must I repeat the streaming platform you said? I lost you there.
Yeah. Yes, the frequency and the streaming platform. We want our international listeners to also be able to access.
Okay. Okay. Okay, on radio, we are available at 96.9. That's the frequency, 96.9 VUT FM, Informing Minds. And then on the streaming platform, there's actually a link. If you log into Facebook and then you type VUT FM 96.9, you'll be able to see our online streaming platform. We broadcasting 24/7. 12 till 12 the next day. And then you can choose your favorite programs from there. We've got different programs that would suit your kind of personality or culture, from student programs to like your midday shows, to your current affairs, to music programs over the weekends. And we get to invite some of the most incredible people. And if you want to really know what Vaal is all about in terms of talent and who's doing what, and within the university as well, how is the university structured, what are some of the events that are happening within the university, then VUT FM is your plan.
Beautiful. And of course, they can go to the VUT.ac.za and they get much more information from the website. So thank you so much, Saneliso. That was Saneliso Mavuka, who's the content manager at VUT FM, and of course, the alumnus of the VUT Work Integrated Learning Program. This was VUT Student Academic Development Support and Work Integrated Learning Program show here at COMETSA Radio Worldwide, CRW. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. My name is Sam Zimmer, and this show is held on the last Wednesday of the month, with the exception of today, of course, and exception of the month of December and January. It is a partnership between COMETSA Friends and Supporters Club and the VUT Student Academic Development Support under the Center for Academic Development. And of course, we are now wrapping up. We will be back after one show, we'll be wrapping up and coming back in the next year. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can revisit some of the show's episodes at insightsonlinepodcast.com. Insightsonlinepodcast.com. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music. You can get it also on Spotify and many other famous podcast platforms. Otherwise, just go to COMETSA-goc.com and then you'll get the Insights podcast there, and all the episodes are there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Saneliso, you have been a star. It's wonderful to listen to your story. I'm sure so many students out there will want to pursue the same career as yours. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're writing exams now.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Lovely, lovely. We hope to have you again here at COMETSA Radio Worldwide. Goodbye and take care.
Thank you. Bye.